Story 1. The Flute in the Woods. This happened when I was younger. I now live in a city. It was my final year of schooling, but things were changing, so everything began to close, including my school. Even though everyone was supposed to be staying indoors, my friend group and I were going out more than ever. There wasn't much to do since all the shops were closed, but I love exploring old places. To this day, I still do. I'm not one to scare easily. I've had a few encounters with people, even had something pointed at me, but nothing compared to how strange and creepy this one instance was. Around this time, I started talking to a girl I had a class with. Her name was Anya. If it weren't for her matching my story, I'm sure none of my friends would have believed me. We were still getting to know each other, but I somehow convinced her to explore a wooded park. The park is nice and scenic during the day, but at night it can be a dangerous place. People have had bad things happen there. Anya and I got to the park. It's very dark. The trees block the light. I don't like to use a light because then my eyes can't adjust to the darkness, and you can only see what's lit up. Plus, I wouldn't want someone to see my light from far away, so I like to keep them off while exploring. We were probably walking the main trail. I knew a trail that goes off the road that leads back to where my vehicle was parked. I told her we could take that trail, making a full circle instead of walking all the way back around. She agreed, and so we began walking through that off-road trail. We were probably only a short time into the off-road trail when suddenly, out of nowhere, a flute began playing. Anya and I stopped and looked at each other, just listening. Whoever was playing it was playing some sort of music. However, it was creepy. As I said before, I don't scare easily. But Anya began trembling in fear and on the verge of crying. I was kind of just listening, but when Anya started praying, that's when I realized the seriousness of the situation. To be clear, it was hard to tell where the sound of the flute was coming from. It sounded like it was coming from the direction of the previous main trail, which was parallel to where we were, with some woods in between, but it was getting louder and closer to the point where it sounded like the sound was right on top of us. Anya couldn't even focus because she was so scared, so I knew I had to get us out of there. I told her, "Don't worry, I'm not going to let anything happen to you," and told her that we should run down the off-road trail to get away. So we did. We began to run. I believe the flute stopped playing, but it was hard to notice because I was more focused on getting out of there. We only got a short distance when out of nowhere we heard the rustling of bushes and the snapping of leaves and twigs before something big dashed across the trail right in front of us. Now, this could have very well been an animal, but it was so strange because I could almost feel the size of whatever was in front of us. I don't know if it was from the wind or what. The only thing is, I never saw a shape of anything in front of us. Another strange thing is, I didn't hear it coming, and I didn't hear it run away. I only heard the dash right when it was right in front of us. As soon as we felt and heard whatever dashed across the trail right in front of us, we turned back around and ran in the other direction until we got back to the original point where we heard the flute, and then, as if whoever was playing it was waiting for us to return, the flute started to play again, loud and right on top of us. This time it was almost chiming. It sounded like it belonged to some sort of song, but the chiming was still in rhythm. However, it was still impossible to tell where the sound was coming from. It was just surrounding us at this point. My instincts kicked in because we were trapped. We had two options. Either go back into the off-road trail where we heard that terrifying dash right in front of us, or go back to the main trail where the flute and whoever was playing it was. The off-road trail was definitely scarier because it was darker and surrounded by more dense forest, and at least the main trail was a path. Thus, I told Anya, who was still trembling in fear, "Let's start running down the main trail back to the vehicle." We ran back. We cut the walk into a run, and somewhere along the run, the flute noise must have stopped. Along the run back, there was a structure, and I was scared because what if someone was on the other side or hiding inside of it? Thankfully, I didn't see anyone or signs of anyone ever having been there. In fact, my vehicle was the only one in the area near the main entrance to the woods. We made it to the vehicle, and I drove far away from there. The next day, I told all my friends about it, and I looked all over the internet to see if anyone's ever come across anything like this. People claim to run into ghosts, animals making terrifying noises, but a soft and rhythmic flute solo? I couldn't find anything on that, or maybe I just didn't look hard enough. I tried to figure out all the possibilities. There are some houses that eventually lead into a neighborhood on the far edge of the woods, but those houses are far away, and we were fairly deep into the woods, so there's no way the sound could have traveled that far because I'm telling you, the flute was clear as day. Obviously, I never found out who was playing that flute or what dashed right in front of us. I actually got chills writing the story. The more I think about it, it actually seems more strange than something scary on a physical level. I don't know if it was a person, ghost, or what. I'm really hoping someone might have an explanation. Either way, I never really went back to those woods at night. I still explore plenty of creepy places, but never really came across anything like that ever again. Story 2. The Hospital Hallucinations. I'm a young person working at a hospital as a technician. I work long shifts. I work many days in a row, and then I have many days off. On one of my working nights, I left a little early to go stay with my partner at their relative's house. They were looking after younger relatives while their relatives were away. The house didn't have any curtains, so they felt uneasy. I didn't go with them at first because it was during my work week. Working the night shift for a long time has taken a toll on me, and I think I've started to develop some trouble sleeping. I literally could not go to sleep after getting to my partner's relative's house. This isn't anything new, but I had never stayed awake for so long before. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't sleep because we had a busy day ahead of us. I ended up falling asleep in the vehicle for a short time. I was really feeling that wave of sleepiness come over me, but I ended up getting energy drinks once I got to work. My partner drove me to work and picked me up because my vehicle was having issues, and also because neither of us trusted me to drive after being awake for so long. My shift started out fine. If I could stay busy, that tired feeling wouldn't really get to me. I put in my earbuds and was listening to music as I was stocking the rooms. It's not uncommon for people to come into the room I was in and grab something, so I usually turn around and smile, and they smile back. I was in my own little world stocking the machines when I heard the door behind me open. There was that sound when a door needs its hinges oiled, and the sound of the heavy wooden door shutting. So I turned around to see who it was, except there was no one there. I didn't really get worried about it. Maybe they opened the door and saw I was in there and just decided to go to another room, so I continued on. As I moved to the next room, the light in this room was off. I opened the door, and I saw someone hunched over by the machine, digging through the container. If you don't know what that is, it's a bin where you dispose of needles and vials after use. Someone had already been caught doing this before in search of medication and was fired. I turned on the light. I was going to ask what they were doing, but when I turned the light on, there was no one there. Okay, now I was starting to get a little creeped out. I finished up stocking and headed back to the pharmacy. Every night, we have to deliver patient medications to the nurse's station. I went up the hospital, delivering meds to the nurse's station floor by floor until I got to a floor. I went to one side, delivered the meds, and decided to go check out the progress of the other side. As I went over there, I just